Game week. You ready, David?
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, let's go then.
It's going.
Mike, David Moore, Dallas Morning News. You've talked a lot in the offseason about your emphasis on improving the run game, kind of getting it back. Is this a good a test that you can have out of the gate going against this Tampa Bay defense?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you look at the way Tampa Bay, plays defensively, first starting with their personnel, but then obviously the way they challenge you schematically. I mean, if you go back to our game last year, they made a very, very strong commitment to the Bucs, as far as one more hat than we had as far as formation and so forth. So they did it throughout the whole season. How they're going to play Sunday night, that's what we'll see. But at the end of the day, you have to run the football. There's definitely points in the game that you have to be able to run it when everybody in the stadium knows you're going to run it. So and that's our mindset, and I think we've had really good work throughout the training camp in the padded practices, and I think the joint practices really helped us. If you guys are all at the joint practices, we focused heavily on running the ball more and throwing it in those practices by design.
Clarence Hill for Western Telegram. In the past, Tony Pollard has been more of a change of pace to Zeke in his style. Is it more of a tandem than a change of pace this year? What's the philosophy going on?
Oh, I think they both hold their own. I look at both those guys as number one runners, or how you want to categorize it. So, yeah, Tony can play. I think when you look at running backs, I know how I define them. Their ability to play on all three downs, and Zeke and Tony both have that ability. Zeke's done it his whole career, so I think they're definitely a tandem. And it's obviously a focal point for us.
Who's next?
Coach Patrick.
Thank you, by the way. It's a big hit today. It's not stuff. I can't let you.
Patrick Morgan, DallasCowboys.com. Update on Kelvin Joseph and Jordan Lewis. Are they expected to practice?
Yeah, definitely. They both, worked on Monday, so they'll both be out there today. I thought Jay Lou looked good. I think the timeline and the work with Britt, we feel good about where he is, and Kelvin's in good shape too.
John Michaud, The Athletic. I think you were in your late 30s. You were in New Orleans the first time that you faced Tom Brady. I think it was 2001, his first season. I think that's right.
I remember the game.
I think they won 34-17.
Really?
Yeah. You guys,
You looked it up on the internet. I don't have to get
do you remember anything going back that far, and just how wild is it that somebody is still playing from that?
The thing I remember about Tom Brady is, Tom was working out with a gentleman by the name of Tom Shaw. Tom always did a phenomenal job, still does, with the NFL draft prospects. And it was my first year in New Orleans, and I think just like a lot of first off seasons, there's just so much going on. I know it was a crazy off season for me personally. It was the first time being a coordinator. So going through the draft process, well, Tom Shaw would bring his prospects over to the facility. I hope the statute of limitations are over on this, because it was just a friendly exchange between the coaches and the prospects. So had a chance to sit down with him and just talk football. And then obviously he was drafted by New England. So that's really the only time I've ever sat in the same room with him. But yeah, I don't recall the game, to be honest with you.
Todd Archer, the ESPN, just following up on that. What do you remember about your conversations with him then? Like, do you think he was a bright kid? Obviously, you're not thinking he's going to become a game.
No, I remember watching it was a bowl game. Alabama. I think it was Michigan, Alabama. He played extremely well. I can't recall it. It was the Orange Bowl or whatever the game was, but he played extremely well. I didn't know much about him. And then sitting there watching the game, and I know back in the day when I was evaluating quarterbacks and having a chance to visit with them, their ability to put them up on the grease board and just have them take me through the offense, because they're all different. Offenses are different, languages different, and so forth. So I just remember being extremely impressed with his knowledge and understanding of the Michigan offense, and and being very impressed watching him play that day, because that's really what we did. We just went through some board talk and put the game on and talk through the game. So. But just like everybody, I thought he should have been drafted in the first round. That's where I picked him. So, but yeah, I mean, what a great career, obviously.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. You surprised that he's still playing at this age?
Boy, I tell you, nothing surprises me anymore. I think when you're able to be around, I just look at, my first year in the league, Joe Montana and Dave Craig, they were 10 years older than I was, and having a chance to be around those guys. I just think what these pro athletes do today is remarkable. And I just think particularly at the quarterback position, so I've been fortunate to be around a number of quarterbacks that have played a long time, Dave Craig, Joe, and, obviously Brett and Aaron. So I think it's real credit to what he does, on and off the field. I mean, just to be able to play at the level that he's playing, but what he's doing physically is, to me, is beyond. And I think he's definitely has raised the bar for the quarterback position moving forward.
Jen Slater, NFL Network. I know there's been a lot of talk about Jason Peters, but I wanted to hone in on the fact that I know you guys were talking as it related to free agents, how hard it was just to find those type of guys. To get a guy like Jason Peters in here, but also to have him already on the first day talking to your young guys, how significant is that, and have you seen that before?
I'll tell you what, I think we're blessed. I mean, really, because obviously of Jason for just, incredible career that he's had to this point. And, then when you have the Arkansas connection, that definitely helps. And so, but, it's just like anything to have a chance to sit down with someone. But just, man, what a joy he's been, since our first conversation. And, just the understanding of, the expectation of what he brings to the table, and I know Tyler and even Terrence. I know the young guys are excited and have been picking his brain since he's been here. So he just in the little time he's been here, he's been an excellent addition. We're going to be smart with him. He'll just work individual today. He worked individual on Monday, so we're kind of taking a kind of a ramp up type mindset with Jason as we move forward.
Mike McCarthy, Dallas Morning News. Pressure on the quarterback. Pressure on the quarterback. They'll take it any way it comes. But interior pressure against Tom Brady, is that of particular importance? Getting in his face a little bit, having him move the pocket.
Well, I'll say this. Something that I've always paid attention to from that side of the ball, particularly when you talk about pass rush plans. I think the older, more experienced your quarterback is, the more inside pressure you got to give them because. Their ability to step and slide and slip, that the number of reps that 10-plus year quarterbacks have, I mean, that's really so much in their wheelhouse, the ability to play within the A and B gaps. So the edge stuff doesn't bother them as much. They've seen it, they felt it. They got great experience of taking a deeper drop, setting it high to buy themselves another yard and a half in their platform. So all those things are, they come with experience, so, but yeah, I've always felt, it's something that, coaching, I've, been fortunate to work with older quarterbacks. You got to really, we always talk about those A and B gaps. You got to, no one runs through the A and B gaps. You got to keep those A gaps clean. And I think their center does a great job of swiping, is what we call it. Anytime he's free, he goes and swipes, one of your defensive tackles to open up that A gap. So I think they do a nice job of that.
Back.
Matt Engel, Mr. Program. You coached a long time now. Do you get nervous at all before games anymore, or is it just another day at the office?
No, I'll tell you what, I'd like being nervous because to me, I think you learn through time. There's a lot that comes out of that energy. I think when people are nervous, and I don't look at nervous as being that's why I'm saying it the way I'm saying it. I don't think it's a negative. I think all energy. Jerry thinks all news is good news. I think all energy is good energy. So I mean, that's we kind of meet halfway there, but that's another topic. But no, I just think all energy. You see, TC just put that in my head before I walked in there. But I think all energy is something you could benefit from. I really do. So I think you learn that through time because at the end of the day, sports, the competitive arena, it's all about the energy. It's all about the emotion, and you got to be able to not just deal with it. You got to be able to run through it in every situation. So I think it's very healthy when guys, because we're all built differently. There's different things that will set me off or nab at me because I am older and I have seen more that then may affect a younger guy. So I think you have to be in tune with that, and I think it's all part of your experience.
Dave.
Babe Loftberg, Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. With a guy like Jason Peters, somebody who you have not had previous experience with, and an older player, do you have to sit down and talk to that guy? Or how do you get a feel for, does this guy really want to do this still?
Oh, definitely. I mean, really, that's really what the interview process was. You know, he came in here and sat down with everybody, myself included, Stephen and Jerry. I mean, we all had a chance to sit down, and to me, that's a two-way conversation. I mean, it's, you know, you're talking about a future Hall of Famer. He's played a lot of football, and you know, fit has to be on both sides. You know, so obviously we were interviewing him, but I'm fully like the way he was interviewing us too, because, you know, so, and that's really how it went down. And you know, I'll let him speak for himself, but he seemed very, you know, very excited to be part of this. You know, obviously being from Texas, Atlanta, Texas, and, you know, finishing his career here. You know, this is a great way for him to finish, and I'm very glad he's here.
Going back to Tom Brady, I am curious, is it hard to scheme against a guy who has seen so much in the league?
Yes, definitely. I mean, that's part of their experience. You know, that's part of, you know, his greatness. You know, his instinct and awareness. You know, I mean, you know, him and Aaron. I mean, you know, how many guys have played that much? You know, and yeah, so that's definitely a big part of their, you know, what they bring to the table. So yeah, you know, in my opinion, I mean, scheme will be important in this game because history will tell you 35% of the plays in this game are going to be unscouted or be some type of variation of things we've seen before. So really, you know, we're really focused on, you know, the basics and just, you know, playing our game and you know, we just want to get up and compete because, you know, we're not going to sit here and try to play, you know, chess with Tom Brady. That's not the game plan. So I can make that very clear for you.
Bria Morantha, Sports Illustrated, 13 sacks for Micah last season. No doubt he would love to give Tom Brady his first sack of the season. You were talking a little bit about energy there. What kind of energy have you seen out of Micah this week?
Oh, I think Mike has cranked it up, taking it to a whole different level. You know, he's had some excellent practices throughout training camp. You know, just, you know, some of the things he's done in the pass rush drills. You know, I'm just thinking through the Chargers week. But he's taken it to another level since we've been back, since we've gotten back from Oxnard, and he's probably had 2 or 3 practices that he's been super, you know, extremely disruptive, and I think it's him, you know, taking that next step. You know, I know he has a very strong desire to be an elite player. I feel strongly, and I think everybody feels strongly he is that or will be that for us. And, you know, with that comes a lot of responsibility. So you can see that, you know, the energy and, you know, he's into it. It's game week. They're all into it. I mean, today's vibe was totally different than what it was on Monday. So, you know, I kind of used the analogy, you know, last week was a little bit like a slow opening, you know, for a restaurant. You know, my dad owned a bar, so not that we ever had a slow opening, but, you know, it's just you're getting back into it, coming off the you know, the hot practices, you know, or excuse me, the indoor practices into the first time out in the heat and everything. So, you know, the quality was good, but, you know, the quantity of what we're trying to get done at the level we want to get done wasn't quite what it was. But you'll see that won't be the case today. So, and Mike is a big part of that.
Mike, when's the last time you had a defense this fast, and is it documented in your GPS or is it an eye test deal?
Well, I didn't have GPS in 2010, so that's the highest rated defense that I've ever had as a head coach, and I think this one definitely has the look and has the ability to be that caliber of a defense. So, I mean, if you go from start to finish, you know, from the off-season program, the OTAs, you know, through training camp, and you know, and I think it'll be the case when we line up Sunday night. Our defense has been extremely consistent, and I think it's clearly the benefits of year 2 with Dan and the staff and the players, and you know, our depth is really it's clearly reflected in our 53-man roster. So, but you know, I'm excited to see this defense compete Sunday night.
Blair.
Getting back to the original question about talking about the running game, you said the running game is important. Last year you didn't try to run against them; you threw a lot. What's been the difference for you this year? Why was it something they did, or why is the focus to run on them this year when you didn't even try to do it last year?
Well, that's really that's the beauty of the game. I mean, that's the beauty of how the game's called. You I think clearly when we went out there, and especially they lost their corner there early too, to the dislocated elbow. So. We just really felt confident in the matchups. Every game has an ebb and flow to it, and that's really my job and the play caller's responsibility to be in tune with the ebb and flow of the game. And that game took on a track meet type ebb and flow. I mean, it was the quarterbacks were playing well, the protection was good, the ball was being distributed. I think both teams had an incredible amount of completions and attempts. So, the ball distribution is something that jumps out at me from that game. And, at the end of the day, that's really what it comes down to. As long as we're getting the ball distributed, I mean, the importance of the run game to me is more about the run blocking unit, getting up on the balls of their feet, fighting and attacking, second reaction, and all those things. Where they're not playing on their heels all day, when you're throwing it. But the final result is, we have to get the ball distributed to our perimeter players. And I thought, especially for week one, I thought we did an excellent job of that.
Dave.
You were the top-ranked offense last year, but when you went back and looked at it, some of your red zone issues, did that come back to not being able to run the ball when you needed to run the ball, and that was some of the inefficiency there?
I think, Dave, you make an excellent point. I think history will definitely support that. I mean, if you look at red zone offenses over the history of this league, the red zone run game is a big part of it. And I don't really think it gets enough due because, the way runs may be evaluated, because, if you have a +4 run, that's a win. +3 run, looked at as a loss on a lot of analytical breakdowns. But, the red zone run game, 2 or 3 yards is, to me is still a win because, I mean, you're running it for different, you're running it a little differently down there. Spacing's different, the defense is playing is different and so forth. So, and like anything, there's only 2 ways to throw the football. You either drop back and throw it or you have an action game. So, and when you're not running it down there, I mean, obviously you're limiting yourself in your normal down and distance offense.
There aren't a lot of statistics for offensive linemen, but Zach Martin has more Pro Bowls than he does holding penalties.
That's unbelievable. I was just told that before I walked in here.
Your thoughts about that and what it says about him as a player?
I think it's unbelievable. No, I mean, what can you say? I mean, I love the stat because if there's anything when people ask you about a player, and you can just say, look at that stat. That's who he is every day. I mean, that's what Zach Martin does every single day. He's the same guy every day in the weight room. He's the same guy, in the classroom. He's the same guy, on the field, on the practice field. So, and I mean, his level of consistency, obviously, the level of his performance is obviously in the Hall of Fame status, in my opinion. And he's got a lot of football left, but his consistency is clearly one of his best attributes.
Wrap it up with Todd.
Is that a technical thing for him and how he approaches it?
Coaching, you know that. Come on, don't do that. Don't do that to us. It's all coaching, absolutely. I don't know how he did it before I got here, but I mean,
Yeah, I don't know if it's a technical or an athleticism that he possesses. That
I think it's all of it, don't you? I mean, the guy played tackle, and he has tackle skill set, and he makes it look easy. Good.
Thank you.